Susan, do you remember when we used to worry that we would always be a bridesmaid and never a bride?
And I think what's so funny now, Hill, is there's like 50% of us who are trying to figure out how not to be a bride anymore.
Ah, I'm still a newlywed.
And I'm still in love, but still,
See, there you go.
there's a lot
Ding,
of us
ding, ding.
looking, there's a lot of us looking to escape.
That we do hear this
Mm.
from friends, family, and our listeners. So this episode is actually not just for the bride. This episode is for the mother of the bride, always forgotten, and maybe even the bride over 40.
Yes. And some of our children are now brides. Some of our friends' children are now brides. Or we are mothers of the bride, or maybe we're a bride for the fifth time or for the first time, even at 50.
It's pretty dynamic. And, as somebody that ran a bridal business, I mean, Susan, we can talk about that one wedding that you and I did together when
Oh,
I owned
yeah.
Blush Beauty in San Francisco.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we practically had to fire the bride.
Pretty
Anyway.
much either that or murder her. I wasn't sure which I wanted to do, but anyway.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, I was not letting her. I gave her a choice. I was like, would you like to have your hair and makeup done today or not?
Do you want to look pretty getting married or do you want to look really ugly getting married? Yeah,
Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
And remember her bridesmaids were like, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. We're so
Oh,
sorry.
God, I've never seen so many people apologize for a bride in my life.
It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But the one thing that all of these scenarios have in common is what will I wear and how do I want to look on my big day? But it was my mom that actually inspired this episode because she said, nobody ever remembers the mother of the brides. She's like, we're always the first or the last. We don't get the touch ups. We're busy. We're nervous and we're older. Like there are these makeup artists that come in and they're doing, these brides that are in their 20s or their 30s, and some of them don't know how to do makeup on a more mature skin. And my mother still does weddings for me sometimes. And she was like, I just think we should do a mother of the bride and mature bride thing. And I thought, this is worth talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's completely true. I think there are a lot of women that are getting married later. I did. And I think there's a lot of women that are looking to, be their most beautiful on that day, no matter what their age is. So it's not just the 20s and the 30s girls. That's easy. Anyone can do makeup on that. Like that, I really think it's easy. It's now we get into women that are maybe getting married the first time in their 50s, 40s, even like their 60s. And to your point, the mothers of the bride, like they often get tossed in the back. It's like makeup artists are so busy focused on the bride and the bridesmaids, you have the mother of the bride, and she often either won't get her makeup done or she's just at a loss. Like, how do I even want to present? How do I even want to look? So I think there's a whole forgotten industry here of mothers of the bride and mature brides. And that's what we're going to talk about. But I also think, Hillary, that the beauty industry knows this, or I think they're getting onto this. And they've definitely been capitalizing on the idea of the bride, quote unquote. I mean, for decades, right? But I think social media has taken this to a whole new level. When we think back and we were doing weddings, or I'm not doing them anymore, but I know you still are. You still are. God love you. It was never my thing. I never enjoyed it. I didn't like doing it. It was too stressful. And I just, it just didn't work for me creatively as an artist to do them. It's not that I wouldn't do one if someone called me, or one day when my daughter gets married, if she wants to, I'll be there for her, or friends, I'll do it. But as a business, it's something, it doesn't work for me. But
I
I
under
think it's
I
great for
understand.
others.
I understand that. And I think it's a weird, freaky thing for me because, I love the avant garde beauty and I love like New York Fashion Week and I love doing all the big looks. But there's something a little romantic about me that still loves a wedding. And there's something really sacred about being in a bride space in those moments. And they often are freaking out. If they're not visibly freaking out, they're freaking out on the inside. And towards the end, they're usually holding one of my hands while I'm doing their makeup. And that's one thing that people say to me all the time is, you're so calm. How do you deal with it?
Right.
I've had families break out in fist fights in the
Oh, yeah.
bride's room. I've had all the craziness go on. And I did stop for personal reasons. I stopped doing weddings for about a decade. And then I guess it's because I fell in love again and got married again myself. I decided to, pull out that, wedding kit and start hitting the road again. And I love, my favorites are Indian weddings, traditional Indian weddings, when I'm with the group
Love.
for a week and I'm
Yes.
sewing heavy hair pieces into the hair with fishing wire. And
Mhm.
I just love it. But even then, and particularly with so many cultures that are not traditional Caucasian American weddings, a lot of times the mothers of the brides are really left out there too. So we
Yeah.
do, we have a lot to unpack here, but I know you're going to tell us a lot about the numbers of the bridal business.
So in 2022, the global wedding market was valued at 21.43 billion. So that is approximately almost a $22 billion industry. This figure is predicted to grow. Are you ready for this? By 2031 to $291 billion industry. The beauty essentials of a wedding day, contribute to this figures because the average bride spends around $300 on hair and makeup for their wedding day. So think about that. Run those numbers in your head, and it's staggering. And it's also staggering to me to think that there's a lot of women left out of that equation, as we're going to talk about, and we've been talking about this mature bride, a mother of the bride, women that are a little bit older. How do they look? How do they present on that special day with obviously, you know, looking and feeling their best? And I think that it is a part of the industry that hopefully companies will start to tap into more. I know I would, if I got back into the game again of doing wedding makeup, I would definitely focus on this market. The mature bride, the, older bride, the mother of the bride, because I think it would be such a calmer environment for me. I think I would have so much more of a relaxing, pleasurable time. It wouldn't be so frenetic. And don't get me wrong, I work extremely well under pressure, as most people know. But that doesn't mean it's good for me. And I think as I've gotten older, I've learned as an artist how to protect myself and what's good for me and what isn't. But I do think that I would really enjoy doing mature wedding makeup. So to any of our listeners, hit me up. I'd be happy to help you out, on that special day. But I think overall, we're definitely seeing that whole sector of the beauty industry being paid attention to maybe a little bit more than ever before.
They are, and I'm seeing it happen more in some of the advertising that I've been getting served because I was married 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I do still get quite a bit of, marketing emails because of, past searches and things like that. And mind you, we did it very quickly, and we planned it in 3 weeks, did it with friends, we did it with family only. As you know, Susan, you're coming to the party. It'll probably end up being our 5 year anniversary when we
Yeah.
actually have the wedding for our friends, and it's just going to be a big party. But yeah, I feel like I can speak to this because I did
Yeah.
have to think about it. I was 47 when I got
Yeah.
married,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, I'm not going to do, some strapless, innocent thing. Obviously, that's just not my vibe anyway. But I had to really think about what I wanted to be looking at in years to come. And I know we tell young brides to think about that, but nobody does when they're in their 20s. Um, and generally it doesn't matter because they are 20 and everything's going to look good on them. But approaching 50, I had to really think about what the trade-offs were, what was my vibe going to be, not so much as a thematic as a how do I want to present, as you said
Right.
earlier. And I knew I wanted it to be classic and pared down, but I didn't want it to look like, my second, third, fourth, or fifth wedding in my 50s, where people kind of just look like, oh, I threw on a suit and I went to Palm Springs, which is great, but I wanted it to be
Right.
still kind of classic and
Right.
sexy and evocative, but sexy is so gauche to say that I just wanted it to be very simple and organic. I'm saying all the wrong words here. I wanted it to have an edge, but have a refinement, a little tiny hint of old Hollywood glam, but nothing obvious or campy. And I think it was okay. I mean, mind you, because we planned it so quickly and we had to do it in um, Las Vegas, which is the last place that either my husband or I would have wanted to do it.
Right.
But his parents were living there. His brother has, his restaurant there. So we did it in the private dining room of a restaurant, a 5-star Michelin star restaurant. So you didn't know you were in Vegas. But I just had to hire like a glam team, and I did not do a trial because I didn't have time, which means I ended up doing my lashes and giving them the direction of my liner before they arrived, so I could kind of be like, this is what I want. But I still ended up having to tweak it and kind of halfway do it myself. But I just didn't want to be stuck in a mirror, stuck in a room with the have to. I wanted to have someone else that could just deal with it.
Yeah. Mine was very different. We had two weddings. So we had our actual wedding ceremony was in Stockholm, and we were married also at a very high-end restaurant. Isn't it funny? We're restaurant theme. And we were married in a wine cellar, and it was, for my beauty, I think being in Stockholm and being in Europe, I wanted something, very simple, very beautiful, very clean. I did, of course, my own makeup. And I found it actually very calming for me to do that. I went and had my hair done at a salon, at a very high-end salon, and had to, in my broken Swedish, explain how I wanted my hair done. And I ended up actually taking the tools from her hand and doing it myself. And I just did a super natural hair. And I just wanted to be very clean and soft and natural because I was a little older, and I wanted to look back in the pictures and just look really pretty and fresh. I wanted to look as young as possible because my husband's younger than me. So I wanted to make sure that I looked incredibly young that day. But it's funny. I look back and I think, I look back at the pictures and I think this was, almost 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I look great, and I'm really proud of myself that I went very soft and didn't let my nerves take over and add too much, which I can sometimes do, or let your insecurities, you just sort of keep piling it on. But then we had a second wedding that all of our friends could go to in Manhattan at the National Arts Club. And it was really a party, quite frankly. Hey, we got married in Stockholm, come and, celebrate with us. And that was so much fun. And I remember wearing like a vintage dress, and I wore a really heavy smoky eye, and I had my hair done, and I looked really edgy. And I look back and, I was a lot more glamorous and sexy and New Yorky, and, and it's funny how the whole vibe of your wedding can dictate the makeup look and the hair look that you want to portray. I agree with you completely. And I think that that's something that women need to understand when you are getting married. Don't just go off what it says in the bridal magazines or online. Think about where you are, think about who you are, and think about what image you want to sort of possess, not even portray, but how are you feeling that day? Are you in a good place? Are you in a calm place? Let that come through. Is it more of like a party? Is it a wild occasion? Are you going to have like a rock band at your wedding? Let that come through, But I think really the most important thing is use the hair, the makeup, the wardrobe, the whole beauty end to portray who you really are, your heart. It's such a time not to get lost in what you should do. Instead, get lost in what you want to do because it's your freaking day. So that's my advice overall.
And if you heard that once and it resonated, you might want to back it up and listen again, because above and beyond all else, feeling comfortable in your skin that day. And if you don't wear foundation, do not get bullied into wearing foundation. Do not get bullied into false eyelashes if you want them. Like, do you and have a blast. Like, I can't wait for our second wedding party thingamajiggy that we're doing. I have like 4 different things I'm thinking of wearing. Who knows what my mood will be by then? But
Exactly.
anyway, yeah, you know there's gonna be a rock band there. We're talking about my
Of
husband.
course, there
Yeah,
better
I mean,
be, or I'm not coming.
I mean, when after we were married and walked back down the aisle as a couple, he had Another One Bites the Dust playing.
My
So
God,
like,
that
you
is like
know
my
him.
favorite. That is my absolute favorite. My favorite.
You know him. But
Yeah.
for somebody that's older and you're like, okay, this is great, ladies, but my daughter's getting married. You guys are talking to me in July. My daughter's getting married in August, September, or October,
Yeah.
and I'm 60, I'm 65, whatever. What do you have to tell me? And I would say for you, take care of your skin. And when I say take care of your skin, if you have 6 to 12 months ahead of time, from the nipples to your hairline, you want to be doing regular treatments with an esthetician that you trust, or something at home that you're going to stick to. Super hydrating. I love doing PRP. I don't always recommend doing anything crazy dramatic unless you have a whole year. And I'm talking like facelift, tummy tuck, those kinds of things. Give yourself
Yeah.
a year if you're thinking about that, but really focus on your skin, your lashes. And that might not mean false lashes. It could even mean the under lashes are pretty incredible, or stopping short of the corner of your eye to give the eye a lift. So you actually do this funny little thing in the corner where if you put on a half strip lash at the outer corner, it doesn't meet where your eye ends. It's lifted a few millimeters above that. It's a Sophia Loren trick that
Right.
gives you a lifted eye, and then you fill that in with liner and you go for it. But collect photos, and the mother of the bride needs to do a trial as well as the bride. If you're not
100%.
if you're
100%.
not totally comfortable with makeup, you're just going to feel better and you're going to have a vibe with your artist. So
Yeah.
it's really important because, you're important too. It's not just about the bride and her bridesmaids. It's important for you to have some peace and quiet and some solace and someone that you really feel that you connect with. And I have found that recently, now that I'm working with brides, not only in Los Angeles, but New York, internationally, it's something that I'm specializing in more. And I'm finding that there's a big need for it. So I would say skin, pay attention to the outer edges of your eyes. And that doesn't mean a va 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 boom lash. It means a very well strategically positioned end point for whatever punctuation is happening at the end of your eye. And then be mindful of cheeks and highlights and just all of the shimmer and glimmer that they want to pile on traditional brides. Sometimes they just want to stick and do the bride stamp on the mom, and you can just end up looking like you're wearing a 20-year-old's makeup.
Yeah. I think the one thing that you need to keep in mind for yourself when you're having your makeup done, and hopefully your makeup artist knows this, you have to remember the makeup you're having done is a twofold process. You're doing makeup that day for real life. You're going to be around guests and you're going to be around people looking at you and talking to you, and you're going to be kissing people and hugging, and you want to look like yourself. But you're also doing makeup that's camera ready makeup. You have to look good in photos too. So it's that balance of finding someone who understands it needs to be camera ready makeup or photography, makeup, but it also needs to be something that translates really well in real life. So people aren't coming up and talking to you and congratulating you and then walking away and going, oh my God, she had so much makeup on. It's the last thing you want. There are a couple of things that I think are crucial for everyone. Waterproof mascara, you know, I would think is something most of us would probably want to have on that day, or a tubing mascara, something that's not going to come off as easily when you cry. You definitely might want to look into individual lashes, as Hillary was saying, versus strips. Strips can really read heavy, and they can age you, especially in photographs and on camera or in videos. Stick to individual lashes. If you're not good at it, get someone to help you put them on. I think we also need to remember lip pencil, even if you don't use one, it really can help define the lip, especially in pictures. Again, stick with something that, you know, blends really well and looks natural. We don't want the dark on the outside and the light on the inside unless you want to age yourself. And really important, and really watch for this, especially in your makeup artist, what they're grabbing. Foundations and powders, 100% should not have SPF in them. The reason for that is you can get flashback in photos if you're using products with SPF. So be very careful with SPF in powders, in foundations, and concealers on this particular day. Skip them. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them can flash back, and you can get that dreaded white look, and it just looks
Yes.
terrible. So
And
be really careful.
fortunately, we have so many new formulas. And if you have to, like, I think everybody that listens to us knows by now that Susan and I are mineral SPF girls for the most part. But I will make an exception on a wedding day if there's going to be a lot of time and activity outside. And I will have people use a chemical sunscreen
Yeah,
if
or
they
skip
need
it.
to. If
I tend to say take the day off from an SPF. I've seen so many mistakes, you know, when you get the pictures back, or especially on video, you'll really see it. And
I have
just do
to,
yourself a
but
favor, pass it.
if you're doing anything indoors, 100% agree. If you're doing something afternoon, tea time, it's outside, and then you're going to have an evening, you know, sort of a ceremony. I've seen brides with terrible sunburns across their chests, and by the nighttime when they're
Yeah,
doing cutting the
maybe.
cake,
I
they're
don't know.
fried.
I
They're
don't
fried.
know.
So
I don't think one day is going to
I
kill
have
you.
a solution.
I
Well,
don't know.
the sunburn will show up over those many hours
I mean,
on the
but
bride.
how much time is a bride spending out? Like, really, you think? Like,
Yes, some of these ceremonies go on for an hour,
all
and
right,
they're cooked.
well,
They're
I
cooked
guess
with
in that
lobster.
case, but just make sure it's not a mineral sunscreen then, because
Yes,
that
amen.
will absolutely show in the photos, especially if you have a more pigmented or darker skin tone. Please don't wear a mineral sunscreen or mineral makeup. It will absolutely flash out and it will look terrible. I would
One,
also be careful with, you know, I know everybody's obsessed with highlighters and shimmers right now, and I love them too. Believe me, I'm wearing one right now. I love it, love it, love it. But try to go easy on too much highlight, too much shimmer. Anything with a blue base or a pink base, be very careful. That can really toss off the makeup and really make it look terrible. I would just go easier. And also on the other coin of that, the other side, be careful with too much matte. I think that can also really accentuate lines, wrinkles. So think creams, think soft, you know, think illusion, but don't go to the extremes of mattes and shimmers when you're doing your makeup on this big day.
I love your tip about the pink and the blue pearl in the highlighters. Those can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
Stay with something more in the golden, close to your skin tone. You even have to check your
Champagne.
champagnes. You have to check your champagnes to make sure there isn't any hidden pink in there, because a
Yeah.
true champagne, glorious. Just
Yes.
remember champagne on the wedding day, darling. A true champagne is glorious. Anything else can be a little crazy.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I really love, and this can solve the sunburn problem, is one of the things that I see, one of the mistakes I see mothers of the bride, mature brides, anybody in a wedding party make, is that they do the face, they forget the neck, they forget the chest,
Oh,
the back, and the arms. If you're
oh
doing
my
something
God. Yes.
strapless, even a V, like particularly if you're over 40, your chest has seen some sun damage. And there's nothing worse in photos than a, a chest that's lobster red or speckled with dark spots, which is fine. You don't even notice during the day in your daily life. But when your makeup is done and you're wearing a gown and you're usually wearing jewels and the hair is done, it looks like, you're a princess on top and a sailor on the bottom. So I
Right.
like to use Westmore. They have a new product. They've had their body product forever, but they have a new product. Their Supreme Cream Face and Body. I would make sure that you have it in case your makeup artist doesn't, and make sure you put it on. I will even advise my brides, mothers of the brides, anyone that I've done consults with. I'll say, hey, if you guys want to put it on the night before, you can rinse. It's waterproof. If you don't want to do that, you can put a sheer coat on from your, from again, nipples to hairline. Don't forget your hands and the tops of your hands, not the palms. Let it sit and marinate for an hour or so while you're running around in pajamas or in sweats, doing breakfast, doing whatever, champagne toast, who knows. And then when your makeup artist gets there, they can buff it down, they can apply a little more, whatever. You will thank us for this tip.
Yeah, you definitely want to have at least some type of body makeup. Westmore does a great product, and it dries down really nicely. I know like Makeup Forever does a face and body makeup, which is great, but the dry down on it I don't think is as good as the Westmore. So for this particular day, and you want something non-transferable. Um, I think Sally Hansen, if you're looking for more of a mass product, Sally Hansen does a leg spray that you can also use on the arms and the body too, and buff it out with a big fluffy brush or a sponge. But really do pay attention to maybe a little bit of body makeup if you need it, or at least a body lotion mixed with a little bit of shimmer or something. You can also do a spray tan a couple of days ahead. Be careful with that. Again, I said a couple of days ahead because it can transfer. But you definitely want to pay attention to the body so that it matches. Because the worst thing in photos is to see the face and the body doesn't match. So definitely
Yep,
remember that tip.
definitely. And here's the thing, I've tried all of those products and they all have their place. Hands down, Westmore wins. It's
Yeah,
blendable.
I
It's
agree.
beautiful on the skin. It looks like a filter on the body. And here's the thing that's cool. Test drive it. Get it a few months ahead of time or
Oh,
get it a few
yeah.
days ahead of time. Get used to it. Get used to how it's not it won't transfer. Wear it and it might actually become part of your regular whole situation when you're wearing
Yeah.
clothing. I know I have it if we're going out to dinner and I'm doing something low cut, or if I'm showing my legs because I'm fair and my legs can get really pink. And, we all have little marks and things like that. And I don't always want to cover. And it's incredible stuff. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love
good.
those.
So, now you kind of have an idea of some products you definitely want to have, the waterproof mascara, watch the mineral SPFs, individual lashes are your friend, definitely some defining of the lips. Think camera ready makeup, go easy on those shimmers and frosts and go easy on the heavy matte extremes. But what are some things you're going to carry with you now that you've had these tips? Now you're going to get your makeup done, you know the look you want to do. What are some things you want to carry with you? Well, remember, you're probably going to have some type of clutch or small bag, and you don't want to take too much. Reason being, and I've seen this before, and I'm sure you have too, Hillary. You start, weddings are long, right? Usually speaking, they're pretty long, and you're there all day, especially if it's hot out or you're outside, then to inside, day into evening. Women, I see them in the bathroom all the time. They'll start taking out eyeshadows. They'll start taking out blush palettes. They'll start adding, and they keep adding, and they keep adding every time they go to touch up. And by the end of the evening, they have so much makeup on, they look ridiculous. So take with you the bare minimum. If you get your makeup done, set it with a great setting spray. Makeup Forever makes a wonderful setting spray. There's lots of them out there. It will keep. Your makeup will keep for the day, for the evening. There's no reason to pack mascaras and eyeshadow palettes and contour palettes. There's just no reason. If your makeup is done and it's done right, you know it will last. So when you're bringing things with you in the bag, don't bring too much. So you'll stop yourself from adding on as the evening goes on.
100% agree, Susan. And I have a fun little tip. I do this when I'm a guest at black tie weddings or just any weddings in general. I also do this for all of my brides, and I have an entire clientele that contacts me just for this purpose. I love the nuance and I love the joie de vivre of having a vintage compact. And there are so many vintage compacts that you can get. I actually specialize in refilling vintage compacts. And depending on what I'm wearing, oftentimes I'll match them to my gown or whatever my whole outfit situation is without it being too matchy matchy. Sometimes it's just cool and it's weird or whatever. But I usually put a blot balm in the space because most vintage compacts have a well for loose powder. It can be messy, especially if you're wearing black. We don't want to deal with it. I fill that little puppy up with a blot balm. I love Mally Beauty's blot balm is one of the best for that. I also love to do like a cheek cream blush stick that you can kind of go between your cheeks and your lips. Any cream will do, anything that you like, just push it into the, the little blush well. And if you have a vintage compact that already has old makeup in it, just scrape it out, wash it out, fill it up, stick it over a candle, let it melt, and you're there. And then I will also add like a little lip. If they have a lipstick, you can pop out an old lipstick, put in a new one, just pull it out gently, with a paper towel and repot it. And then I just carry a little Jasmine Mist by May Lindstrom, and I put that in a vintage perfume atomizer and call it a day.
And, if you're not as creative and as glamorous as Hillary is, and thank God she is, because she makes my world a lot more fun because she is, reach out to her, have her make one for you. She makes the cutest compacts. Seriously, I'm not kidding. But if you're someone who doesn't want to go that route or doesn't have the time to fill up a compact, travel size is your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
Every company makes, or most companies make travel size. So some things I really like to keep in my little bag with me, unless it's one of Hillary's custom made vintage compacts. I will put in a travel size of the Caudalie. The Grape Water Moisturizing Face Mist is fantastic. Avene also and Evian also makes a little water mist. I just like those little face mists. I think they freshen up your face, they freshen up your makeup, they feel good. And if you're flashing out, having a hot flash, it's the best little thing you could just toss on. And it also helps the makeup kind of, I don't know, just stay fresh throughout the whole event.
Good if
Another
you need
thing
to
that I really
sober
like,
up too.
say it again.
It's good if you need to sober up too.
Yeah, if you need to sober up, just grab that. If you're thirsty and you haven't seen champagne come around in a while, open up I'm just kidding. So by Terry, I think you all know my love of Terry. Makes a travel size hyaluronic pressed powder, which is great. It's tiny. I know Laura Mercier makes small ones now, NARS. Everyone does a small little powder. I think having a little bit of powder is not a bad thing. I'm really dry, but even for pictures, I'll dust a little powder on top. Or, if you don't want to do powder, do the little blotting papers. Tatcha makes them, Shiseido makes them. Blotting papers are great. And lastly, again, like Hillary, I love a little small travel size lip and cheek product. Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks, hands down one of my favorites. She's now making travel size. They're so cute. They're little red. They're so cute. So you can see them inside your bag. She makes it in petal and doo-doo, two colors that are great for everybody. Elf, Milani also make little lip and cheek sticks that are tiny. Again, it's a lip and a cheek stick. It's tiny. It goes in there with the water and a little bit of blotting paper powder. That's it. We don't need to be messing around with your eyes. You're not going to be contouring. You don't need makeup brushes. Just enjoy the damn wedding. And if you have to touch up your lips, if you have to just spray your face, that's it. That's it. You paid to have your makeup done professionally, or maybe you did it yourself, you put in the time, just enjoy yourself. We're at the age now where, a touch up is a touch up. It's not an overhaul. Remember that.
It's true. Simple is chic. Ladies don't fumble in their handbags for their beauty in cocktail or black tie attire.
That is so true. And, you just don't want to spend your whole time at the wedding in the bathroom. It's like you want to be out there having a good time. So I think that's the most important thing that our listeners can take away from this episode is whether you're a bride or whether your child is a bride or whether your friend is a mature bride or you're the mother of the bride, it doesn't matter. Just know that what you're presenting that day is who you truly are. It's a memory in time and it's a beautiful, beautiful event. And if you're happy, happiness is the best makeup you can wear. Corny, but true.
I think it was Audrey Hepburn that said that, wasn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. Or I would like to think I made it up, but I didn't. I probably got it from somewhere. I don't know, but I do think
Whatever
whoever said it.
Whatever
beautiful woman said that. I don't know, but I do think it's true. That's what comes through the photographs. The most beautifully made up woman in the world can look the ugliest in pictures if she's having a bad time. So remember that.
Yes. Keep that in mind, everybody. It's true. We've all seen the most stunning women in the world that are just so ugly on the inside. And it seeps through their skin. Beauty may be skin deep, but ugliness, it seeps right through the skin.
And so the lens doesn't lie. It'll catch it. Trust me.
So Susan, we have like my whole situation to plan. Not that we're going to go over the top, but you and I get to do like a whole day and the stuff and what are you going to wear and what are you going to do and when is it going to be? It's just going to be a big party,
It's going to be a fun, big party for two of my favorite people. And we'll definitely be uploading a lot of photos and uploading a lot of memories in our mind about that. I'm so excited.
We'll bring everybody along for the ride because I think it's going to be
so.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, we want to hear what you guys have coming up. If anybody out there is getting married, if your children, your nieces, your godchildren, anybody is getting married and you're like, what in the world am I going to do? And we didn't answer your questions here because we had fun reminiscing and sharing so much of our personal stories, which I hope that you enjoyed. Ping us. We're happy we have decades and decades and decades of advice and 2 weddings between us to share with you. So
yeah.
Let us know.
Find us on Instagram. Find us on Facebook.
We're at LifeGLOSS.
At Life.
You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Wait. You can find us on. I know. You can. Yeah. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at LifeGLOSS Podcast, or you can visit our website, which is lifegloss.com. That's life-gloss.com. Susan, as always, stay glossy.
Stay glossy, Hill.